Hi, welcome to Silver Linings. I'm your host, Janine Barrows. I am so grateful for your time today. We are going to have a guest today, and her name is Jennifer Tomas, and she is with Tomas Insurance Group. And she's going to talk to us today a little bit about the myths of Medicare, what's happening, what's important about this time frame. Good morning, Jennifer.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Indeed. This is a really unique time of the year for somebody in your industry, right?
Yes, it definitely is. It's been busy, that's for sure. So just trying to help as many people as I can get the coverage that they need for next year.
Ooh. Well, before we jump into some of that, can you tell our listeners about yourself, how you got into this industry, what instigated it, never mind starting your own business, and a little bit about how long you've been here in Indian River County?
Yes, absolutely. So I started my career actually as a school teacher.
Ooh.
And so I started teaching pre-kindergarten, kindergarten, first grade. I was a third grade teacher. And then lastly, I was an instructional coach. So I was teaching teachers how to teach reading at the school district. And so 17 years ago, we moved to Vero Beach from Miami. So definitely we needed a slower pace, and we definitely got that.
Yes.
So it's something that we've loved living here, love the community, love the people, the businesses, and just everybody that we've interacted with all these years that we've been here. So 8 years ago, I started in insurance. And so what led me to do that was my dad, actually, Pedro. He was a manager for United Healthcare for the agents. Okay. And so he would train agents on the products, on Medicare. He was kind of their manager in the retail space and just face-to-face appointments, things like that. And so he just said, Jenny, we're always looking for people to educate the community on Medicare.
Key word, I bet, for you, right?
Yes, exactly. So just coming from education and teaching all those years, it was kind of very natural. So I told my dad, I'm like, Dad, I can't. Like, I had just had my son, and I was working full time and, being a mom. Right. And it was just very overwhelming. I'm like, I just cannot put one more thing on my plate. So I put it off and I put it off. And one day I just decided, you know what? What's the worst that can happen? I get my, my license and I don't like it. Okay, fine. No big deal. So, but I fell in love. And I fell in love because I'm still educating. And that is really my passion. And my forte is the education piece. So I started doing the insurance part-time, nights, weekends, for 4 years.
Oh, that's a long time to stick your toe in the water, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So just, trying it out, seeing how it went. It was going great. I really, really did like it. I also love teaching. So it was kind of hard to kind of figure out the direction I was really going to go into. And my last year, I worked 62 days straight during this busy season, the October 15th to December 7th. I worked 62 days straight with no break. And at that point, I said, okay, something's got to give. So I gave the insurance industry a full-time try, and it's been great. I mean, I miss interacting with the kids and things like that, but I really love my job, and just the things that I've been able to help people with has just been very rewarding. So that's basically how I got into the industry, started my company, Tomas Insurance Group. So there's 4 of us now. Myself, my dad, about 2 years ago, retired from corporate United Healthcare. Right. And so he joined me as an agent.
Who brought all that information and knowledge with him? How nice.
Exactly. So I knew, he doesn't need to be trained. It's kind of like he just, it's like a bike. You just never forget, how to ride it. So then we have another agent in Brevard who focuses in that area, and then another one in the Volusia and Flagler County area. So slowly growing, don't want to grow too much, but we are growing, and, it's exciting. It's definitely been an adventure, and it's been extremely rewarding, to say the least.
Well, I'm sure that your clients love the way you break things down. I've been privy to seeing how you do that, and you definitely integrate your experience as a teacher into today's role that you've taken on. And I have no doubt that that makes it so much easier for your clients when they're making choices and decisions. Anybody who navigates or attempts to navigate in the insurance industry, never mind those that also cover and review and process for Medicare, it's intense and there's a lot of information. And generally speaking, most people are confused about what is this and what is that and is this for me? And it can be overwhelming. And often that feeling of sense of overwhelming will impede people from making the changes necessary. They don't want to inquire about what was going on last year and why they had repeated issues. They'll just go with the flow because they don't understand any of it, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So I know that I work with a lot of individuals that are over 65. And as you alluded to earlier, this specific time of year, what is it, October 15th through December 7th, is a very intense period of time for agents and brokers like yourself, right?
Yes.
Tell us why that is. What does that mean? Because to the average listener who maybe is approaching 65 or isn't there yet, what does that mean? Or maybe they just need to know this in general, regardless of their age.
Right. So this is the annual enrollment period. So this is the time where Medicare beneficiaries can make changes to their current plans for next year. And there's different reasons why somebody would want to possibly do that. So if they have like an Advantage plan, let's say, you just have to make sure that their doctors are still in the network, the facilities, the hospitals that they still want to go to are still in the network with the current company that they're with. If they're not, then we look at other options of companies that do have those doctors, hospitals, and facilities in their network.
So you're doing the homework with your clients, right?
Yeah, I do the homework for them.
Oh, I like that.
I actually have them fill out. It's an electronic form. It's called Retire Flow that gets sent to them either via text or email. They fill it out with some of their basic information. It also gives me a list of their current doctors that they want to keep, all of their medications, including dosages and frequency and the type. So if it's a tablet, a solution, a capsule, because all of that makes a difference on cost.
The details.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And just giving me some extra information about what they're looking for their coverage the next year. So I do the research. Typically, I do it beforehand, before we meet. And so it just gives me an idea as to what they're looking for and have some some options already, to present to them so that then they can choose between those options on what they think is going to be best for them. Just talking about that is their medications too. So that's another reason why people might want to look into possibly changing plans. Are the medications still covered? What's the deductible on the medication? Did it increase? Did it go down? Did it go up? What are just some of those different things? So just making sure that their medications are covered, especially this year, has been probably the biggest challenge.
Well, I know we're going to talk a little bit more about that because I do expect that there are some changes that are going to impact a lot of individuals. But this is a really important time of year for individuals to take a look at what services they're going to be having next year, who they are going to be working with as far as their clinical team, and being sure and proactive, because it's up to the individual, right, to verify what services are covered under each plan, whether they've had that plan for 10 years or one, because changes happen almost annually, correct?
They do. So there are changes to plans, whether it's a supplement plan or whether it's an Advantage plan. Supplement plans, the structure of them stay the same, but costs increase every year. So it's just trying to figure out what that rate is going to be and if it's affordable. If it's, going up too much, then it's maybe looking at a different option within Medicare supplement plans, maybe going to a different plan letter to just kind of try to save some costs and things like that. And then with Advantage plans, you have, changes with max amount of pockets, co-pays for certain services that need to be taken into consideration based on your needs for that following year.
So as I was jesting about homework, and we like to, no one likes to do homework. In this particular case, it's really important to depend on somebody like you as well as yourself. You have a certain self-accountability when you are reviewing your policies because they really do change. It doesn't necessarily have to be a national measure change. Policies in general do change, and you have to be aware of it because you only have, tell me again the time frame?
October 15th to December the 7th.
To get those changes done without needing some kind of special qualifying event, right?
Correct.
Right. So I want you to hold that thought because we're going to take a small break and have a commercial, and then we're going to return.
All right. Sounds
Thanks.
good. Mm-hmm.
Hey, you! Host your very own show every week at Evergreen Media Network in Vero Beach. Go live to YouTube and Facebook with up to 4 people and your very own producer. Be heard on more than 15 podcast platforms and local radio. All you have to do is show up and talk. Your guests can join from anywhere in the world. It's easy to get started with the largest podcast studio on the Treasure Coast. Contact Evergreen Media to tour the studio.
If you dream of creating a home that embodies sophisticated island living, visit Sunshine Furniture during our Tommy Bahama Home for the Holiday Sale. Bedroom, living and dining room, home office, media, and occasional pieces, Tommy Bahama Furniture is distinctive and unique, yet inviting and comfortable, and is all on sale now. We're also having a huge Black Friday closeout sale on patio furniture, indoor sofas, chairs, occasional tables, and dining sets from Berlin Garden, Windward, Telescope, Lloyd Flanders, Four Seasons, Capri, Universal, and more. Also, all pictures, lamps, and accessories are half price, and don't forget to visit our outlet and sales center across the street. Sunshine Furniture, 1295 US 1 in Vero Beach, next to Planet Fitness. Visit our website at sunshinefurniturecasual.com and hurry in today for our Black Friday savings.
Sunshine Furniture, the best in every way. Ooh, have a sunshine day. Sunshine.
Hi, we're back. It was simple. It was peaceful. Sunshine Furniture out there making our homes and our patios look amazing. We're always grateful for their sponsorship. And I do want to give a shout out to our actual show sponsors. I want to yell out to the team at Rooney and Rooney, the legal team over here in Vero Beach, serving our community for, I think, well over 30 years now, and as well as the Conway Financial team here, the Conway Financial Planning. So if you need legal help or if you need some financial help, please reach out to any of these companies. They're amazing, and we're always grateful for their support. You know, before we went to commercial, Jennifer was starting to talk a little bit more about
Changes with prescriptions.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of changes that are happening for 2025. So in 2022, the Inflation Reduction Act was passed, and part of that was to help Medicare beneficiaries lower the cost of medications.
Mm-hmm.
And that's definitely going to happen for part of the population. So there's that famous donut hole that everybody's kind of, the infamous donut hole or the coverage gap. So one of the good things is that that is going to be gone. That would affect many Medicare beneficiaries when they hit like a certain kind of amount that they've spent on on medications. Their medications might go from like $47 one month all the way up to like $300 and something dollars for the following month. So it was a really big financial hardship. So they did away with that, which is a good thing. And the max out of pocket went from $8,000 to $2,000 for medications, which is very good for certain people. Kind of where there's pros and cons to everything in life, right?
Of
and
course.
This is no exception. So you had an $8,000 max. Now it's $2,000. So who's covering that gap? The insurance companies and the drug manufacturers are. So what ends up happening is they're businesses, and so they're there for a profit. And so some of those costs are going to be pushed onto the consumers one way or another, which is why there's some changes. Deductibles have gone up. So the maximum deductible for medications is $590 for 2025. And some companies have integrated a co-insurance for tier 3, where before it was only tier 4 and 5. So it's just kind of making things a little bit more tricky to kind of figure out and to make sure you're on the right plan.
And so for those individuals who aren't sure if their medications are going to be impacted in these changes that are coming, no matter what plan you may be on in 2025, what would you advise them to do to be prepared?
So there's a couple of different things you can do. So the first thing is you can kind of do the homework on your own is, you can go to Medicare.gov and you can enter in all of your information and see what plan may be a good fit for you. The other thing you can do is to reach out to your agent. Okay, which is probably what I would really suggest, is having that personal shopper, if you will. They shop for you. They get the list of your medications. They do their own research for you and try to see what might be in your best interest for 2025. So I would probably recommend doing that above anything else. And if you don't have an agent, I'd be happy to help however I can. But making sure, being 100% sure that your medications are covered is going to be the most important part of that.
You know, you brought something up earlier about how the cost of medication can shift drastically. Whereas you may be utilizing a medication for years for a long-term diagnosis, and you've never had an issue with it, and you might spend $40 a month on said medication. But you may be surprised that in 2025 that may not be covered, and that may end up costing you hundreds of dollars for a month's worth of medication. So I would definitely think that it's worth making a phone call or going online and finding that out. What are the best ways for them to be able to determine if their medications are going to be covered? Who do they talk to? Their pharmacist? Do they talk to their agent? Do they look it up on their own policies? Will their policy providers be providing that information to them early enough prior to, say, December 7th, when they have the end of the change in time frame for you?
Right. So I would definitely, there's, again, a couple of different options. You can call the plan directly. So let's say that you have Cigna for your prescription plan. You can give them a call and say, these are the medications that I take. Are they going to be covered? And if they are, at what cost? The other way is...
Because that's a good point. Just because they're covered doesn't mean that they're going to be covered to the same level that they may have been covered before. And so you want to ask at that point what coverage will be covered, right?
Exactly. Okay. So you want to make sure, what tier is my medication? Is it a tier 1 where it's a preferred generic? Is it a tier 3, which is a preferred brand name drug? The higher the tier is, the more expensive the medication gets for you as, you know, the consumer, and for the companies and for the drug manufacturer. So it's just making sure not just that it's covered, but how much is it going to cost you out of pocket when you go to the pharmacy to pick it up?
That's a really good point.
And something that's really great also is they've implemented a payment program. So if you enroll into this payment program with your prescription plan, what they will do is they will spread out the cost of your medications throughout the year.
Oh, wow. That's huge for some people, because I know that some of these medications, even once covered, are still extremely costly. In my family, there is a heart medication that is several $100s a month. So to know that you could possibly create a payment plan to process out, that's really nice to know. Who do they ask about that?
So they would call their specific company. So if you have Humana, you would call Humana. If you had United Healthcare, you would call United Healthcare. And the reason it's so beneficial is because since deductibles have gone up,
right,
you would have to pay that full deductible until you get to 100% cost of that medication. So if you could spread out that $590 deductible into 12 months, that makes it much more affordable than if you're having to pay $590 between 2 months or 1 month, depending on the cost of the medication.
On top of the medication
On
cost,
top of the medication
so that
cost.
makes
Exactly.
a big difference. Well, I so appreciate the candor and openness in which we're having this little conversation. 24 minutes is not enough time to really delve into this topic. I mean, you just briefly touched on tiers, and I'm sure most of our listeners are going, what's a tier? What's a tier? What do you mean? What's a tier? And even the familiarity with it is minimal because I don't utilize the service yet, but I do have a lot of conversations with our client base and other advocates and team members that work with the geriatric population and what they see and what they endure. But we did want to break up and talk specifically about those services and those needs because we are in that qualifying time frame right now. And so our national population are having lots of conversations at the dinner tables today about what does tomorrow look like? What is my insurance? Is my doctor covered? Will I be able to get that heart medication, or will I have to get my doctor to give me a different script that I don't know will work or won't work so that it fits within our budgets? And those are real things happening happening in every household here, especially in the state of Florida, where we have such a very, very large geriatric population. So these are important topics and conversations, but I don't want our listeners to walk away today thinking that that is all that you and your team at Tomas Insurance Group do. I know we have a few more minutes left. Can you tell us some more about what you do and who else you help?
Oh, sure. So I also help people that are under 65 with individual or family insurance through Obamacare and other insurance companies as well. So especially the people that are they've retired, but they're not quite 65 yet. They need something to kind of hold them over. I have a lot of clients like that. So that's one of the different things that I do as well. I also do cancer policies, and I am a huge advocate for cancer policies because of the simple fact that it's not just the cost of medical care that you need to think about when you have cancer. It is, unfortunately, do you need to travel for treatment? So these cancer policies can cut you a check for whatever the benefit amount is. You can utilize that money however you see fit. So if you needed plane tickets, if you needed hotel, if you needed to get a rental car, if you needed to pay your mortgage that month, you can utilize that because you can't work sometimes when you're going through treatment.
Right.
So it's just utilizing that policy to kind of help financially on the things that you don't think about when you think about a cancer diagnosis. Hospital indemnity plans. So, sometimes the deductibles and coinsurances and copays for hospitalization are astronomical. So you can get a policy.
I think that's not sometimes. I think that's
it's
a guarantee.
all the time, most of the time. But it's something that you can get in addition to your regular policy to help offset those costs of a hospitalization, emergency room visits, ambulance rides. There's a lot of different riders you can add on to that. Dental, vision, and hearing, because Medicare doesn't cover dental, vision, or hearing. You're basically on your own if you have original Medicare with that. So a lot of people, when they're on original Medicare with a Medigap policy or a supplement plan, they add on a dental, vision, and hearing policy as well.
Okay.
So those are just some of the other things that our agency offers the community to help them with those needs.
I love that. I didn't realize anything about the cancer policy. I think that is very valuable information. And so true, we see individuals get a diagnosis that requires them to go far, far from their home environments, and they're not going to go alone. So they're going to go with spouses, they're going to go with friends and loved ones that want to be by their side through that process, and to know that there are policies and options for individuals to be prepared and preemptive for that scenario that so many families face. That's really wonderful, Jennifer. I didn't realize that. And I will be letting others know that as well. Can you tell us in the last moment that we've got, what is the most common mistake people make when choosing an insurance?
Listening to everybody around them.
Too much input.
It's too much information. They've got their mind set up, and then they talk to their sisters, cousins, brothers, whoever, and then they're like, wait a second, maybe that's what I should get. I shouldn't get what I'm getting. I should get that. So it's kind of not getting educated and listening to people that maybe aren't in the field, that maybe have just had different experiences. You have to think about your unique situation, your needs, your wants, your preferences, and your budget. So not everybody's budget is the same. Not everybody can afford to have the same type of plan one way or the other. So it's really, that's the biggest thing that I see, is letting people influence you, influence your decisions based on their situations.
Well, I'm grateful for your time today and the knowledge that you came to share with our audience. It is invaluable, not just during this time frame, but all year long. And what I've really heard today, and I hope that our audience has heard today, is go to a professional. Go to somebody who's going to help you. When I have something go wrong with my car, I go to the mechanic. When I have something go wrong with my body, I go to the doctor. And when you need insurance, go to your insurance agent. Thank you, Jennifer. I wish you a beautiful day.
Thank you.
And on that note, I'll see you next week. Have a great day.